Welcome to the LeQueen's Inspired Podcast. I am Claudia, and this is a place where we gather stories of our favorite artists, Le Twins, and where we talk about their influence in our personal life and in culture. So today, my guest is Danny, and I had a beautiful conversation with her because she was an early fan and she was running a fan account on Instagram between 2014 and 2017. So during the era when the twins started to be popular, right after their first tour with Beyonce, but they weren't as big yet. It really talks about how the community was back in the day and the beautiful life changing moments that they all went through. Also, keep in mind that this episode is partly illustrated, so there's going to be several pictures, drawings, videos from back then that illustrate sort of the people involved, the creativity that came out during that time, so you can enjoy the visuals too. Hi, Danielle, welcome.
Hi, happy to be here.
Thank you. First of all, where are you based and where are you from?
I am from Buffalo, New York, and I still live there to this day. So I've been here my whole life.
Nice, beautiful. So I really wanted to talk to you because you really represent a certain time in the fandom, which was, like in between, I would say, after their first tour with Beyonce, the Mrs. Carter World Tour, but
Yeah.
before the World of Dance. So they had gained some popularity, but they weren't huge yet,
Right.
right? Yes, I wanted to ask you your story of how you got involved in becoming a Litwins fan and starting your account, your IG account, Bourgeois Boogie.
Yes. Oh my God, I haven't heard that name in so long. Well, I've always loved dance. I've always wanted to be a dancer, like for as long as I can remember. And everybody that knows me knows that. So sometimes people would send me videos of dancers. So I would get videos of them. And this is like when they were a lot younger and nobody really knew who they were. And at first, I kind of looked at them the way a lot of people do in the beginning, like, okay, they're kind of weird. But it was the 2012 Hip Hop International. That performance blew me away. I thought it was just debut, but it was actually Hip Hop International 2012. If you've never seen it, you have to see it. It blew me away. I've never seen anything like that. And then they also back then used to film with this company called Yak Films, and they would do like little short videos with them. And there was one in particular, I think it was filmed in Las Vegas at this place called Treasure Island. It was a store, and they were in this aisle. It was like between the cooler and the bread aisle. And the way that they utilized that space, like the way Larry made the bread look like it was floating behind his back and made the freezer door look like it was dancing on its own. And I was just blown away. So that's when I kind of went down the rabbit hole and everything began to click like, okay, maybe they're not weird. They're just different.
That's beautiful. And so you decided to create a fan account on Instagram because of that?
Yeah, so after they used to do Google Hangouts, and this was before like Facebook Live and all of that. They had the Google Hangouts where they would go live, and again, this was before they were still kind of learning English. So it was just so cute and so funny, and they were just so young and sweet. And I would post like little clips from the Google Hangout on my personal page, and everyone was like, "Oh, why are you posting this? Again, they're so weird. They're so weird." So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to create a space where I can get to know them and maybe find other people that like them, because I realized once it started to click for me, it's kind of like a different language. If you go to another country and you don't speak the language, you kind of feel isolated. And then you run into someone who speaks the same language you speak, and now you kind of feel bonded. And I had to understand that it's going to look weird for people that don't speak their language.
That's a beautiful
So,
way of putting it.
thank you. So that's why I wanted to just create that space. And so, 2014, the end of 2014, I started a second Instagram page that was basically a fan page, and I made sure that I blocked everyone that knew me personally. Yeah, because you just want it to be like a judgment-free zone. And so that's when it started, the end of 2014, when I created my fan page.
It's actually funny because I heard in this, interviews that I've been doing, like so many people say, yes, I watched them dance and they were so intriguing and I wanted to know more. And so they started to watch the Google Hangouts. And this is even like recent fans. And the Google Hangouts are the one that just made it click for them and be like, wow, they're really my people.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's interesting because you kind of have to have that personal connection. The way they perform really it brings up emotions. And I find
Yeah.
that, if you are uncomfortable feeling emotions, then they're going to repel you.
It really is. Like, I know it sounds weird to some people, but it really is. You have to be speaking their language like you. I never understood when they would dance before. I don't know if they still do, but they used to tap their ear a lot. And when they tap their ear, they would tell you to listen. And if you didn't know why they were telling you to listen, it looks like they're dancing off beat. But as you watch them, and that's another thing that I love about them, is that I love music, and it could be a song that I've heard a million times, but when they dance to it, they hear parts of the music, parts of the vocals, they hear parts that you normally wouldn't pay attention to. So when they're tapping their ear and telling you to listen, and then you watch, you start hearing parts of the music that you didn't hear before just based off of their movements. And that's that language that if you're not open to it, it just looks weird.
Yeah, I had heard people saying that after watching them dance, they hear music differently.
Yeah.
And for me, it always reminded me of Picasso painting. He was destructuring everything. And everybody was shocked to begin with. It was like, what is this? You know?
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be this revolution. And I feel like they kind of done that. They just like shook everything from the ground up and just ultimately created a way of dancing that to me is much more powerful than any other dancer. I was just noticing in Hungary, Larry was doing his choreography. And, it was a group of dancers that were with him that were all professional dancers. They were all dancers who were going to battle later on. And I was just looking at them and just how these dancers were performing the steps beautifully. Like they were really great. And then you would have Larry, who was just like his face, and he was just completely embodying the music. Even though they were doing the same steps, everybody had like a straight
Yeah.
face, and he was just like fully expressive in his face. And it's like he would pick him out like in 1,000 people dancing.
I think it just comes from every pore of his body. And I think that's why you love them both. But once you really start to follow them, everybody is either a Larry girl or a Low girl. Well, I won't even say girl, but everybody is either Team Larry or Team Low. And there's just something I noticed when they first started. Larry would always dance first, and then Low would kind of be like the closer. Because nobody, to this day, nobody freestyles like Larry. Nobody interprets feeling and music the way that he does. And so many people, lately talk about compare Chris Brown to Michael Jackson. But when it comes to dancing, just dancing, nobody is closer to Michael Jackson than Larry, to me, even to this day. Because Larry dances in a way that makes you question if he's human, just like Michael Jackson. And again, it looks weird on the outside when you don't know what you're looking at, and you would see them watch each other dance and they would scream, they would run around, they would get emotional. But the more you tune in, and especially if you've had the chance to be in the same room with them, you start to feel that too. That's what makes you love them even more because even though they know how good they are, they still celebrate you when they see that in you. I think that's why something like this is so important because you talk to so many different people that know them and discovered them at different times. And me being someone that was there like in the beginning,
Hmm.
I can honestly say this is how they've always been.
Going back to your story, so you started this Instagram account, and it must have been like the early days of Instagram, right? Like they must have just
Yeah.
been on it.
Yeah, it was like late 2014. And I'm not thinking at the time that it was gonna turn into this big thing, but it skyrocketed pretty quickly. I wound up meeting like a group of girls, and we were all, and it's just so funny how we were all our stories were very similar. We were going through some things in our life, and we discovered them, and the people around us couldn't understand it. So then we all created our own little Instagrams, and somehow we just gravitated towards each other. And then we, just as a joke, one day we started doing these memes called "Les Twins After Dark," and they would be like, little dirty memes, and it really was just a joke. But the boys saw them and they liked them and they shared them, and I think that started paying having us on their radar.
We mentioned it in our first conversation that there were, I noticed that there were so many fan accounts like
Yeah.
opened around that time, like hundreds and hundreds of fan accounts. And so you were saying that being noticed among those many fan accounts, it kind of felt like destiny to you.
Yeah, because it was weird. No one was expecting them to like really know who we were, but for some reason our group, our small group was on the radar, and that just goes to show how far their reach extends because we wasn't just on their radar. It was they have the Criminals crew, which is their dance crew. They started noticing. They used to hang out with this DJ called DJ Nasty Nas, I think his name was. And when they would dance to other artists' songs that maybe wasn't that well known at the time, by the time we would all like look that person up, like, oh, what song was that? And we would share their music, and then their streams started going up. It just kept going. It just snowballed into this big thing where it was almost daily one of us would hear from them. And that was at the end of 2014. And so December 2015, their birthday was coming up, and out of the whole group, it was me, Ashley, Ari, and Amber, who all got kind of close. And me, Ashley, and Ari decided to go to the workshop in San Francisco because they were having like a birthday party after the workshop. And this is the first time they were having workshops for forever, but this is the first workshop that had like an after party after. So again, we were like, okay, and us coming from different parts, like me being in New York, Ari's in Chicago, Ashley's in Florida, all three of us never been to the West Coast. We've never met each other outside of Instagram, so this could have all went horribly wrong. But we met in San Francisco, and we went to the workshop. It was at Sandy Lee Studios, and it was a group called the LT Vets, and it was Miss Jackie, Harmony, and Adrian. There were others, but those were the three that I talked to the most, and they were like the gatekeepers for the boys. Like they had afros and their t-shirts, and they were a little bit older than us, and they had like a really close relationship, like personal relationship with the boys. And Miss Jackie, um, especially, would text us, wanted to know we got in okay, made sure we were safe. We only intended to go to the workshop. We didn't intend to go to the party, but once she came out there and we told her, and she was like, "Oh no, you're going to the party." So she paid for us to get into the party.
Oh, that's
And
so
again,
sweet.
this is all of us meeting at the first for the first time. So for her to do that and look out for us in that way, still to this day means a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's beautiful. Because one thing that I think really needs to be highlighted is the fact that those were the early days of Instagram. And so because of you being so active, then you just sort of you uplifted them and then they were giving back to you by, feeling appreciation for you, sort of, spreading the word and really promoting them even with your posts. And so it's a beautiful thing of like uplifting each other and supporting each other, the fan and the artist.
Yeah, all of them, the boys and Miss Jackie and her group, they really didn't have to, especially Miss Jackie and her group. They really didn't have to, but it was just the fact because they didn't know us. This was all new for all of us. So that's why I believe that all of this was fake and was supposed to happen because we weren't the only group of girls there. But again, specific things kept happening for us. So we got there and I didn't know at the time that uh another girl that I met through the fandom named Holly was documenting everything. Which she wasn't documenting me, she was documenting the boys, but would just happen to catch my little moments. So I
At
was
the
sitting
workshops.
there, yeah, at the workshop. We were sitting there, we were ready, and we really wasn't ready because when they walked in and it was like the atmosphere just shifted. You just felt this whoosh in the air and I just started to cry. I don't still to this day, I don't know why. But I was sitting next to Brandy and I just started to cry on her shoulder and Holly caught that on video. But it was just the feeling of being in that space. It's very addictive. That's why I totally understand when people follow them to this day and still go to the workshops because it's really a special creative space that I've never felt anywhere else. And they walked in happy, like they didn't walk in like, "Oh, we're celebrities and you came here to see us." They walked in happy to see everybody. And so after the workshop was over, we had to go to the bathroom. So somehow we ended up getting lost and running into Larry. And everybody was kind of crowding around him and I guess he was tired. So when I came up to him and said something, he got really snappy. So I instantly got offended. So some words were traded, and then he just kind of pushed me along, like, get out of here. And me being as shy as I am, if I feel like, someone's being disrespectful, all that shyness goes out the window. There was a little back and forth, which I'm glad nobody caught that on video. But once that was over, we went out to the after party. And at that time, I was so upset that I was just ready to go, but I didn't want to ruin it for my friends. So I just kind of stood in the corner with an attitude, which, of course, Holly caught on video of Larry's dancing on this table. And you could see me standing there just super pissed off. And and everybody was coming to me, even Miss Jackie, like everybody was coming to me saying that's how he is. He didn't mean it like that. But again, and at the time I didn't realize that I suffered from anxiety. And when I'm feeling anxious, because it was a new environment for me, when I'm feeling anxious, it comes off as anger. So I wasn't trying to hear what anybody was saying. I was just ready to go. And he came up to me, and again, with my attitude, I just said, "Oh, you got time for me now?" And that's when, the video that's still going around to this day of him dancing with me. And again, I don't know how my friend Ashley did it. She recorded all the pictures and the videos that you see from that moment were from her. I don't know how she recorded and took photos at the same time, but everybody always asks, like, why didn't you dance back? Why didn't you? Because I was upset. I was not expecting that. And it happened so fast. But after that, he was really nice. Like, I think in a weird way, I think me snapping on him kind of made him respect me a little bit more because then after that, everywhere I was, he was. So,
Rather than just leaving or retreating in your own corner, saying what you felt.
at it now, I could have said it, in a nicer way, but it all turned out well. But the most special moment of that workshop for me was it was just me and my friends in the hallway and everybody else was still in the other room, with the party. And the boys came out there where we were, and Lo wasn't feeling well. And we found out that someone stole Holly's wallet. And again, they absolutely could have been like, that don't have anything to do with me, whatever. But they wouldn't leave until everybody looked for Holly's wallet. And Lo kind of looked around and said, "Well, I know it's nobody out here because we're all family." And everybody just kind of got quiet because he doesn't, Lo especially, like Larry is the one he kind of gets a little emotional, and Lo is always the one that kind of reels him back in, and they're very protective of each other. So for him to look at all of us and say that, that's not something that you take lightly. So it was just like, wow. But sadly, we never found her wallet, and everybody was saying their goodbyes, and I was just in the corner because my social meter was at a negative 0. I was ready to go, and Larry kinda came over and said, "Oh, you just gonna stand there?" And I said, "Well, since you're standing there, make yourself useful and take a picture." So I took a picture, and you could see in the picture, like, I was smiling, and he was making this funny face because I don't think he expected me to take it. But at that point, it was like, every time I see you, I'm gonna say something smart now because that seems to be what you like. So after that, we left. The next day, they had a performance, and if I'm not mistaken, the theater that they performed at was owned by Sandy Lee also, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know how the 3 of us got to the front row, but we was in the front row, and after they performed, he looked over at us, like, Larry is a winker. So he looked over at the 3 of us and pointed and winked. So it was just like, again, it was a moment of both of them acknowledging the 3 of us when they really didn't have to, and we wasn't expecting it, and it made that whole experience special.
Yeah, I think you were saying a little bit before that kind of it felt like going to the workshops and even like being active online in the community. It felt like it turned into this very creative moment for you. Like you felt comfortable to be creative in your own way.
Yeah, it's just the feeling of being in that space, but then also the encouragement from them because once they find out that you have gifts, it doesn't matter. And that's the one amazing thing about them is that it doesn't matter how much time goes by. If you're on their radar, they will remember you. And if they know that you have a gift, they're going to check up and say, "Hey, what did you do with, what you were telling me about the last time that I saw you?" Well, I think once the videos of us from the San Francisco workshop came out, and then that's when all of our fan pages just kind of skyrocketed. And it wasn't just us feeling creative, but it was other people it was other people in the fandom drawing pictures of me, which was it was pictures of me and Larry, and then there was pictures of me by myself, and it was people inboxing me, asking me, when was the next one I was going to because they wanted to meet me, and it was like, really? Just from the between the first workshop and our online presence, like, so I think it was a creative space for everyone. And you had all these people writing these amazing stories on Wattpad, even me. And I'm not I don't feel right calling myself an artist. I'm just someone who happens to know how to draw and paint a little bit. And just being in that space made me want to do that more. And I don't think I've ever, even to this day, like written stories or paint and draw on anything the way that I was doing at that time because it just came naturally for all of us.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
so the first workshop was the end of 2015, December 2015. So then there was one April 2016 in Atlanta, at the skating rink called Cascade. And at this time, because of everybody knowing who we were from those videos from San Francisco, we decided to wear name tags that had our real names and our Instagram names on them. And at this time, I had started getting closer to some other girls. It was Olivia, Darcy, Raina, and April. Now, Raina has been on Larry's radar from day one. Like, Raina is the ultimate Larry girl to this day. And when we and Darcy is a masseuse, and she's a perfect example of when you have a gift and you're serious about that gift, that the boys kind of latch on to that and want to see you go as far as you can because not only, was she working with them, to try to provide her services for them, she's also a beautiful dancer. And there are so many videos of her at workshops with them you see videos of people watching them in awe when they dance, but there are so many videos of them watching her in awe when she dance. She's on their radar. There's no way she can ever come to a workshop and not dance. They will not have it. And again, just us being there from the beginning before TikTok was TikTok, it was called Musically, and Liv and Larry used to post videos like kind of battling each other, like lip syncing, dancing, and that's how she got on Larry's radar. So you have all of us at this one place in Atlanta. And because we were wearing the name tags, again, it's so weird how everybody's like, oh my God, we wanted to meet y'all. So weird. It was so weird. So at this time they got a lot bigger than they were from the first workshop, and security was tight, and it was very strict, like you get one picture, move it along, and we had all brought them gifts. So it's like they snatched the gifts, and not the boys, but the staff at the skating rink. Put your gifts to the side, take one picture, move on. But, because Larry does not care what anybody says, and me not expecting he would know who I am still, but he automatically knew who I was. He was so happy to see me. And he took my phone. There was somebody standing there that would take your phone, take the picture, move it along. But he took my phone. And he took like three pictures before I noticed that Lo was standing next to me. And because I heard him say, so I'm just nobody, right? And then I looked over like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And then him and Larry started going back and forth because Larry was like, she don't care. She came here to see me. So all of this is going on while security is trying to rush me along. So then Lo kind of pushes me like, yeah, yeah, go, go, go. And which is so funny because at the first workshop when Larry did that, I got super offended. But now that I know how they are, I just kind of laughed it off and moved along. And two special moments from that workshop, again, being on their radar. I was walking by, going to the bathroom. I had took my pictures, had my moment, and I just had to go to the bathroom. And Larry was kind of sitting off to the side, taking the break. I had no intentions of bothering him. Don't bother Larry when he's on a break. I learned my lesson. But he saw me and he tapped the seat next to him. So I sat down. He looked at my phone case, and my phone case was a picture of him. So he pulled out a marker and he signed it, and he asked me why didn't I dance. So I lied and I said I can't dance. And he just kind of looked at me for a minute and then said, you lied. And I just started laughing like, yeah, I am lying. So he was like, well, so next time you're going to dance on my side, right? And I was like, okay. So I already made up my mind at that point that I was going to another workshop. And then I just kind of walked away because I didn't want to bother him. So when we were leaving, everyone was crowding around. The boys were ready to go. They wasn't signing anything else. They wasn't talking to anything else. At my friend Ashley, 100% on Lowe's radar. And he saw her and he kind of just pushed everybody out the way and made sure that he had a moment to talk to her and sign whatever it is that she had. And again, he absolutely didn't have to do that. She had no idea he still knew who she was, but he 100% knew who she was. And that was, again, just a really special moment that just blew both of us away because they didn't have to do any of that. But that's the magical thing about them is that if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. Like there's nothing that you can do to make it happen. It's just have to happen organically. You don't have to have a big page or, all of this hoopla going on. If they feel something from you, if you're speaking their language, if y'all speaking each other's language, they will come to you. They will know who you are. And that's what makes it so special. That was the main thing that made me say yes. You and I first spoke to doing this because that's the foundation of all of us group of girls who became friends just through our love for them. That was the foundation of what we did. We looked out for each other. We looked out for other people. It really was like love. It really was like a family. And it was during the time, like before they really blew up. So it kind of feels like Beyonce always says the twins are her The boys are her first sets of twins. And we we always laugh because, we take a little part of that too because they were our twins before they was the world's twins. And actually they were the LT Vets twins first, but
Yeah.
I think that some people are meant, to follow them for however long, and some of us were only meant to be around for a short time. And I think that I'm one of the people who was only meant to be around for a short time, and that's why everything kind of happened for me so fast.
Why do you think you were meant only for a short time or only? I mean, it obviously was a good enough time for you, but why do you think it
Yeah.
was a short time for you?
Right after the April 2016 workshop, they were doing another one back in San Francisco for their birthday again. So we were thinking, oh, this will be a cool full circle moment. But then it got after we had already bought our plane tickets and everything, it got canceled because they had like prior obligations. But I was always a lot older than all the other girls in the group. And even though, like, there were other girls that were married and had children, their children were like babies. My children were like teenagers. So as I got older, my kids got older. Your priorities change. And again, there's only so much time I could spend chasing them around before my husband is like, okay, now you're doing too much. So, yeah, so things start to happen. And
It sort of evolved that way.
yeah, and there was a moment where I was having health issues. And I think the girls that I'm still close to this day is when I really appreciated their friendship because they were there. Even from a distance, they were there. And I really had to sit back and look at it's easy for the lines to blur between fantasy and reality when you're following them around, but this is their reality. It's not our reality. So I couldn't no longer invest so much time in watching them enjoy their lives while mine is just passing me by, especially when I started having health issues. So that's when I decided that, my time being as deep in as I was had to come to an end. But I regret nothing. It's to this day one of the best times of my life. But I think that that's why it was a short time for me because I just had more important things going on. My oldest daughter was already in college. My youngest daughter was starting college, and it was just, it was life was happening.
Cayenne had told me that she felt like stepping back from attending workshops now because she was like right now for her it's about applying their kind of energy, like their kind of, full blown trust in themselves. She applied for a higher paid job and she got it, and she's writing her cookbook, and she was like right now it's more like it's not about attending workshops for her anymore because for her right now is about applying that energy into her life.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing where people on the outside try to put us in a box like, "Oh, we're just fangirls." Now, make no mistake, those boys are fine. Everybody know it. Everybody knows. Like, I'm not even gonna sit here and pretend like that wasn't part of that's what got you in the door, but it's not why you stayed. And and again, not just with their words, but with their actions, that atmosphere of just being in that space, it makes you want to be better, even if it means stepping away from them. And it's funny that you mentioned Cayenne because it was your interview with her where you asked, is there life after Les Twins? And I was like, wow, that would describe my journey perfectly. Because yes, there is. I am the perfect example of there is life after Les Twins. You can absolutely get sucked in for a moment and it'll be great and a wild, crazy ride. And, I hope everyone gets to experience them the way that I have. But life goes on. You still wish them the best, but life has to go on for you too. And you can take whatever you've gotten from that time, not just being a fan, but all of the encouragement, all of the creativity, everything that we learned from that short time and apply it to your real life. It's real life. It's not just being a fan.
Wow, wonderfully stated.
So much kudos for doing this because
Oh, thank you.
These stories out here, getting these stories out there, because there's no doubt in my mind that if they haven't already, at some point they're going to listen to these podcasts, and at some point you're going to be talking to them directly.
Wow. Yeah. As I said last time, I welcome it.
It is so important not just to talk about how much we love the boys, but just to talk about all the amazing people we've met along the way because of them who deserve to be mentioned and remembered. So this is and even you, who knew 10 years later that video of me and Larry would connect, lead you to me. So even you, like we're all, it was just all meant to happen. Even 10 years down the line, it was just all meant to happen.
Your words kind of make me feel like to trust the process.
Yeah, as long as it's coming from a genuine place, it's gonna happen. The more the boys became successful, it went from feeling like a family to kind of feeling it started giving cult vibes because it was I think one of the reasons why the boys kind of gravitated towards our little group is because we were very honest. We wasn't like everything the boys do is perfect and heaven sent. And no, if it was something going on that we questioned, especially me, especially me, like my daughter tell me all the time that I'm aggressive. Like you could have said that a little better. So I do, looking back, realize some things that I said I could have said a little better, but I meant what I said. But it turned into you can't never go against anything the boys say or do, or you'll get isolated. And it's so funny to me how now that they're starting to come out with music more, the newer people are like, "Oh my god, they sing." But those of us that's been around kind of laughs because Larry especially can really sing. Yeah, and it drove me nuts that he would be an amazing R&B singer, and some of their musical choices would drive me nuts because I didn't particularly enjoy it, but he had such a beautiful voice, like he could be doing other things. So when I would speak on that, some people didn't like that. And that's when I started like backing away and not feeling comfortable because as long as you're saying how you feel respectfully, it should be okay. And when it's not okay, then that's not the space I need to be.
That is very true. Yeah, I agree. And if it doesn't make you feel good to be in it anymore, then there's not too much point.
I would like to add again, thank you so much for just speaking of creating safe spaces. Thank you for creating a safe space for, those of us that were there in the beginning, came in the middle, knew like this is really an amazing thing that you're doing, and I've really been enjoying listening to the other episodes. And again, the main reason I wanted to do this is just as like a love letter to all of us that were there at the beginning and just for everyone who's just getting to know them to learn the foundation of where all of this came from. And there's one quick moment I do want to mention. I don't remember what the competition was. It's probably on YouTube, but it was France versus China. This is a really old video. So it was the twins and the criminals crew versus a crew from China. And the crew from China, I guess, they were trying to throw the boys off and they took a banana and like threw a banana at their feet. And like the old stereotype of, black people look like monkeys. So, of course, you can see, especially on Larry's face, how upset he was. And instead of it getting physical, they finished the competition. They won, of course, but Larry picked up that banana, he peeled it, and then he ate it right in their face. And that right there is why we stood behind them as hard as we did because again he could have lost control, it could have turned violent, it could have went all kinds of ways, but they did what they were supposed to do and they made a statement by eating that banana. Like that was a really strong moment, and those are moments that we stand by, and I hope for anyone that follows them that they get to feel a little piece of what we got to feel when all of those things were happening.
Right. Yeah, well, he just turned it around to its own favor. but I didn't know about that specific incident.
That was a moment that will always stand out for me, especially when it comes to Larry.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Danny. Down in the description below, I put the links to the videos we referred to during the conversation, as well as Danny's Wattpad, where you can read her story, her fantasy story inspired by the twins. Also, as usual, share, like, subscribe to the channel, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and see you all next time.